And we should be going live. And now, so everybody, thank you so much. Welcome to the stream. We got some people piling in here. Today we have the one and only Gosu Coder. So if you haven't checked out his channel, I'll leave links down below. Gosu Coder does excellent stuff by testing the various LLM coding abilities. Yeah, so how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good. I appreciate you reaching out and talking about GPT-5. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh man, it's been absolutely
It's
insane.
been
Yeah, and I
nuts.
saw yeah, and I saw you testing it and I figured I'd reached out. We haven't talked before other than briefly on, back and forth on Twitter, but this is the first time we're actually doing this live. So, and I know some people in chat are familiar with you, so I was like, okay, this is going to be a perfect sort of crossover. I guess, and we haven't really talked before the chat, so we're learning about it. We're just
Yeah.
beginning to talk about this. So I guess like what's your view on GPT-5 and are you disappointed? Are you excited? Where are you at with that?
So I went into it thinking that it was not going to be able to beat Sonnet in coding, like
Hmm.
real long agent loops. But the fact of the matter, um, OpenAI has just not been competitive on the coding side in real like coding environments, in my opinion. And I think everything that I assumed was going to happen happened. It's a good model. It's fine. It doesn't beat Sonnet yet. Maybe that'll change over time, but it is good. And I do think the future is like having multiple models. So I think it's a nice one to have just in your arsenal to be able to get different opinions from it. It's better at front end, in my opinion, than Sonnet 4, but not as good at like complex problems. So time will tell, but right now that's where I'm at. Kind of expectations met, I'd say.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, and I just realized my audio's coming through the camera mic. I don't know why it just threw my settings off. So I apologize, you guys.
Yeah, no worries,
Uh,
man.
I'm just gonna have to yell, I guess. Okay, but yeah. So it seems like a lot of people are. Yeah, the mic is just a prop, as people are saying. As so, I'm seeing some very interesting things with GPT-5 when the high reasoning effort is used, right? So I feel like a lot of people are somehow defaulting to the because I mean, I think they really messed up with how the thing is routed. Like if you're just
I do too.
using it through, yeah. And I think what's his name? One of the OpenAI people, Rune. He said there right now the thing is messed up. The model router is messed up. So we're hoping that that's going to get fixed. Um, but in if you're using cursor, you can say, hey, use maximum reasoning or
Yep.
whatever. Um, but assuming that we're using maximum reasoning, we're using the best model that they have. So would you say the Claude 4.1 is still much better? Or have you tried you tried 4.1, right?
Yeah, the Opus 4.1 I have.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so Opus is just so expensive to be able to run across all of the different agents. So I have not done that, just to be totally honest. But I have used it in Claude Code. I still fall mainly to using Sonnet because when you're doing long running agent loops, you really care about speed. And if you're working in like long running projects or something that's like really going to production that needs to navigate a code base, speed matters a lot. Being able to compact, start new chats, all that stuff matters a lot. To me, Opus is amazing at planning, building like going through and kind of building all the things that need to happen, getting the to-do list ready or whatever, and then using Sonnet to execute. I'm very interested in GPT-5 high reasoning against that. Like if we were to take GPT-5 to be able to build the plan and then use a faster, lighter weight model of some kind to go execute it, I'm very interested in that. I haven't fully tested the planning side of GPT-5 yet.
Yeah. And would you say so? Some of the things that people are saying is it's really good at instruction following, which I've been seeing. Speaking about GPT-5, and also like tool use, tool calling, and stuff like that. Do you feel like it's really strong in those areas?
Yeah. Have you got a chance to check out my latest benchmarks that I ran around everything by chance?
I briefly went through it where I mean, you have a bunch, right? You just go through them and you have a score for each, right?
Yeah.
I
Uh,
briefly like clicked through it just to see, but do you want to give us an overview and I can share?
Here, I can
Let
even.
me see.
Can I share screen by chance, or
Yes,
is
I
that
think
gonna?
you should definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me see. I'm gonna move this off here, and then me just share my main window here. Okay, so I'm going to start here in Excalibur here. This is kind of rough. Sorry about this.
No,
But
that's great.
when you say instruction following, that's really what I'm measuring here. And maybe to give you a lot of people ask what these numbers mean. A lot of benchmarks measure, I would say, riddles, like one-off, like little things. So you'll see something like, hey, go change this bit of code or solve this particular thing. It's doing very few, what I would call like the agent loops that are happening. There might be some. The exception to that is like the IDER polyglot. That one's actually got more of the agentic kind of tool calling on it. So that's a good one. But the system that I built really is about measuring the harness around it and the LLM. So a lot of times people will say like GPT's, or Claude's great or whatever, Qwen 3 Coder's great, but it's really a combination of how it's harnessed and the LLM itself, because there's different ways to do tool calling. We could get into that if we want to, but regardless of that, there's different ways to handle all that. So what I'm measuring is like a more longer running task. Basically, if I give it a full plan of something, how does it follow directions across a longer body of work? And to me, that matters more to me than doing like little riddle stuff, because I could use any model for that. I think they're all exceptional at like the little micro tasks. So really what we're talking about is like, instead of changing one thing, we're changing a bunch of stuff and we're measuring that. And then if you go back to the scoring, the pink purple is really where GPT-5 comes in. You can see Sonnet 4, Qwen 3 Coder, Sonnet 4, those are just exceptional at those long agent loops. GPT-5 is solid. Like, it's a really good model. 25,870 is an excellent score. Very little difference. Like, there's not that much difference here. So it is a good model at that. And then this green one is Horizon Beta. So I ran that while it was alive or available. And it's right in line with what you're seeing with GPT-5, for example. So anyway, that's kind of the long short of it. Good at instruction following, slow as all could be. Like, that's the one thing that I would say is kind of painful.
Wow. And Qwen 3 Coder's up there. That's kind of amazing.
Qwen 3 Coder is an amazing model. One of my favorite.
What's your take on GPT OSS? Is that anywhere near? I don't know if I saw it. No, that's just not even close.
Yeah, I actually do have benchmarks out on that. They're very low. They're not even in the ballpark of this. So unfortunately.
Interesting. Okay. And then, so for people that are trying to get into this, start using it, out of all those tools that you've shown on there, I mean, where would you start? What's like the best one, or what do you prefer?
So to me, when I'm testing a new model, I start with raw code because it's highly configurable. It's I can build custom modes. I can configure whatever I want in there. But I really am a fan of the CLI tools. So Claude Code, honestly, there's no better deal right now on the market right now than paying $100 a month for Claude Code. You can do almost all the coding you need just with that. Can't beat it. Qwen 3 Coder, Qwen 3 Code with Qwen 3 Coder is actually really good. So I use that some. And then there's another open source CLI tool called it's SST Open Code. That one's coming along really well. Still very early, so there are times they break it, but I actually am following that one along really well. But I do like, if I had to pick one, I'm not super technical, or maybe I am a little bit technical, but I don't want to get in the CLI. I would pick root code today. And then if I do want to go to the CLI and I want to pay a fixed monthly price, Claude Code all the way.
Interesting. Yeah. Claude Code, a lot of people are saying how amazing it is. And yeah, it's interesting to see that Qwen 3 is definitely up there. It's nice to see. I mean, what do you think about the Chinese models in general, releasing open source, so much open source things? Like, it's so incredible because they're closing the gap so quickly. I mean, are you excited about open source in general in the AI space? And while you talk, let me try to fix my mic really fast.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's a tough thing because I know there are companies here in America that will not use these open source models that were made in China. But me personally, I love the fact that they exist. I love that they're putting pressure and competition. And I honestly think Cerebras, I don't know, did you follow that, Wes, with what Cerebras released recently with the $50 a month?
It's like an inference provider, right?
Yeah, and they've done something which I've been thinking needed to happen for a while, where they have like a monthly price of $50. I think that's $50 and $200, and you just can use it wherever you want. And they just give you a lot of like usage for it. I think we're going to see more of that with these open source models. And I love that. I love having, US based companies or wherever they are hosting these Chinese models for a fixed price with healthy limits on it. So you're not surprised by like API usages. So I'm all in on the open source stuff. I hope they continue, and big fan of Quinn 3. You're probably in the same boat, unfortunately. Like I was a really big fan of Llama and following it for a while, but I'm very disappointed. And it seems like they're going to go closed source now. So it seems like we're going to have to rely on Chinese companies unless someone's working on something in America we don't know about yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, hopefully there's a push for it. And I mean, certainly OpenAI releasing something was good,
Huge.
was nice, huge, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, that's
totally.
incredible. But definitely it seems like there's still a ways to go to, I mean, yeah, to compete with that. Yeah, and I apologize to everybody complaining about the mic. I don't know what happened. All the settings are supposed to be just the same, and then it just flipped on me. So, I guess one thing that I'm noticing about GPT-5 is it's much better at coding up little solutions to do various tasks. So if you want like a Gantt chart, or you want to analyze something, if it's able to write a little code and then use that code to generate the answer, it's exceptional.
Yep.
Um, do you think that maybe, and so a lot of people are testing it right now, they'll ask it like, what's, this number plus like an addition problem or something like that, and it'll fail at it, and they say, okay, well, it's not really good. But it's like that seems to be missing the point, because it can create its own tools, its own software, its own apps to generate whatever it needs to. So it seems like right now it's capable of doing, like, let's say you have an intern that's working for you, it can do something that will take that human like 2 or 3 hours to create a little piece of software to do one specific task that might take 2 or 3 hours. um, is that kind of like what you're seeing? Like these tools are capable of one-shotting, or these models rather, one-shotting like 2 to 3 hours of human work right now? Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% think that's accurate. And I know everybody's on the fence on this, but I actually think it's kind of not a valid test when we test like simple math problems in these LLMs. At the end of the day, they're just going to write code to be able to solve math that we as humans never could.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'll give you another dimension of what I do, and you may not know this actually about me because I mainly talk about like coding side. But my day job, we're building basically an AI, uh, I would say an AI retention team. So really, what we're doing is we're taking marketers from 0 to 1, so they go all their planning that they need to do, creating their campaigns, actually generating the emails, and doing deep data analysis on all their stuff. And now I talked a little bit negative about GPT-5 on the coding side. Not really. It's a solid model. It's a good model. I don't mean to be negative on it. But when I run, I also have evals I run on the direct-to-consumer e-commerce side, and it's number one. It did an incredible job at the tasks that we do in that domain. So I just kind of like to go to your point before, what we're going to see is like this model is going to be exceptional in some domains, and it's going to be, I'd say, a top tier coding model. I don't think it's going to be the most used coding model. I'm happy to be wrong about that, but I don't think it will be. But there are going to be places where GPT-5, I think, is exceptionally good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, it's so interesting. And where do you see the future of this thing going, right? Because there's like a lot of like arguments about it. So initially, some people were saying, "Oh, it's going to replace coders and software engineers." I think smart engineers will always be around no matter what. So this is just going to enable to do for them to do more. To me, I compare it to digital cameras, to where it's going to allow all the noobs to get into the space and start creating simple apps. It's not going to
Yeah,
replace top level engineers, but it's going to allow everyone else to just like mess around and create little apps for home automation, for just little games, whatever they need. I just built a Vampire Survivor style game with GPT-5 and Cursor, and like I was pretty impressed. It felt good to create it. So where do you think 5 to 10 years? Where do you think AI and software engineering? Where's that going?
Yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think engineers are going to be around for the rest of my lifetime. I mean, there may be a day, I can't foresee 20, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. But I will say, like, for the foreseeable future, I don't see good engineers going anywhere. And you can see that very easily by opening up any large code base and trying to do something that branches, across that code base in some meaningful way. If you're changing a button, adding a UI, heck, use AI all day for that. But when it comes to building a new feature that touches different domains in the code base, you really do need to have the architectural vision. You also need to watch it because it'll duplicate code like crazy. You have to watch like security flaws, all of that stuff. And that hasn't gotten substantially better. It's gotten, I would say, like, it's improving, but it's not improving at the rate that people would say. If you go back, like, what was it, like 18, 20 months ago, people were saying in 6 months, all engineers are going to be gone. To get to that level. In fact, I have a shirt on where, you remember Devin? Like,
Yep.
So like I made this shirt specifically to make fun because Devin was talking about replacing engineers and doing stuff on freelance. So I just believe that engineers are going to be needed. I do think the route that you take as an engineer in this industry is just different now. Like, I used to have a very clear path for you go from being an intern to a junior to a mid-level to senior to whatever you wanted to do, architect, manager. I don't think you can sit at the junior level very long anymore. You're going to need to have the broader context of the business, the code base. So that is what I'm most interested in, is like, what does this new paradigm for new engineers entering look like? Because I can automate most of the things my associate or junior level engineers can do, like UI, simple bug fixes. It's really when you start getting to mid-level senior where they need the business context and context that's bigger than what an LLM can have. So that's where I'm at currently. I don't know, where are you at in that stance?
Yeah, that's a great question. Give me, so a lot of people are complaining about the mic. I am so sorry, guys. Give me like 10 seconds. I think I know how to fix this. 1 second, because I do want to be able to talk so people can hear me. Give me 1 second.
Oh, and then while we're waiting, I do have my daughter. She doesn't really want to be on camera here too much, but she's over here coding with root code. Her review of GPT-5 is that it's good, but it's too slow. So take that for what it is. She's waving at everyone. So she's hanging out with me, writing some games over here. Yeah, just checking out chat here right now. So what do you guys think? Oh, we got you back.
Sorry. Testing. So how's that? Are you guys hearing me much better now? This should be a lot better. So yeah, I do apologize about that. It's been insane last couple of days because we've been doing a few live streams, and man, every single time something goes wrong. Anyways, sorry, I interrupted you. You were talking about something.
Oh, I was just telling the chat while you were fixing your thing that my daughter's actually over here, right to the side, coding, working on some games.
Vibe coder.
Yep, she's vibe coding. I think she's probably on like game 5 or 6 right now. She's made some pretty cool ones using group code. I did put her on GPT-5, but she wanted to go back to Claude because GPT-5 was just too slow. So
okay, so you heard it here. The next generation of coders prefer Claude Code. That's awesome. Okay, so I gotta testing. Okay,
that's a lot better for me.
That's a lot better. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I think this is where it's supposed to be good. Yeah, man, my audio level is the one thing that I got to figure out how to do it right. I don't know why it's.
I'm terrible at audio, man. It's the hardest thing in YouTube to get right.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're recording, you can always do it in post. Live streaming, it's like nope. Anyways, so you asked where I think it's going. I mean, where I think that, so I compare it to like the digital camera sort of evolution that happened back in the days, because when digital cameras first came out, the true professional people that used film, they could get better photos with film because they knew how to do the film selection, the exposure, the f-stop, whatever you needed to do. But over time, as cameras got better, they started incorporating more. But really, where everything changed is the everyday people could now take pictures, point and click. And so we went from like hundreds of millions of pictures taken in the world to like trillion plus. I think it's in the trillions now, just because like any kid can take an image, take a picture. So I think we're going to see the same thing in the future. These little apps, kids, like, I can see kids in a few decades, maybe first of all creating little apps
Oh
for
yeah.
whatever they need. Potentially even like if we have robots, training a robot to clean the room in a simulation, whatever, some sort of RL training pipeline. I think that could be very realistic, similar to how kids can now take beautiful pictures, and they probably know how to take better pictures than most adults. um, but again, I mean, professional photographers, professional videographers, they didn't go anywhere. They're still there. It's still an art. You still have to be good at it. So I don't. Yeah, that's kind of like how I'm seeing it.
I actually really like that mental model that you've built around that, because I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. But everything you said is right in line with how I see things going too. I think we've opened it up to more people. And I think it's been a trend that's continued. When I started coding 20 years ago, started in the game industry, it was actually, we didn't have things like Unity. We barely had the internet to search things. So, like, it's been
Yeah,
a constant evolution of getting easier and easier at actually making games. And now we literally have, my daughter typing in some things to AI and building the game she wants, which would have taken forever when I was just starting out. So it's
yeah.
interesting.
And I think I kept like thinking about it because so many people are arguing about it online. And I think the argument is like they're not arguing about the same thing, because I think what's going to happen to actual developers and what's going to happen to the average people, because the developers are kind of making fun of the quote unquote vibe coders. They're like, oh, it's not going to take my job. It's no, it's not. But it's going to allow, it is going to be powerful for people that are not professional developers. So I think that's where that sort of separation is going to be. um so
Totally agree.
anything else that you're seeing in the what else interests you in the whole AI space? And also, why do you think coding is such a big focus for these companies?
I think there is a ton of revenue right now for coders. And uh, so my entire career, I can't remember a time that I willingly paid personally for some sort of tool. I'd do something open source. I would do whatever I could to not pay for anything. This is like one of the first times where I think not only are you selling to companies, but you're selling to individual people, and everyone is willing to do it because you can see the value for it. I think there's a massive amount of revenue that all these companies are raising for. Um, in my mind, like, what I'm most interested in is what is the next S curve we're going to hit, because I
Hmm.
feel it's a little bit like I've been in a bunch of different things, but I have a pretty deep like machine learning background, built a lot of machine learning models. And what I would always tell people is you could build a machine learning model. I don't want to overly simplify this, but you can build one that is somewhat good really quick. You get to, like, I always call it like 70, 75% really quick. And then every percent after that is kind of like a lot of work. You're fighting, you're spending a ton of money, and eventually there's diminishing returns. And I
Hmm.
think, I could be wrong, but I feel like we're hitting that right now with the current state of LLMs. We've had some really neat breakthroughs with reasoning, mixture of experts, and so on. But I don't think we've hit the next S curve yet. And I think there's a limit of the amount of development that can go on top of these models, maybe 6 months to a year to try to get the most out of them. But we need some new advancement. I don't know what
Hmm.
that's going to be, but I think we're probably going to be incremental until that unlocks in some way.
Yeah, it unfortunately does seem that way, and I gotta be honest, I didn't want to believe it, but yeah, it seems like we did hit this S curve, maybe starting, Chat GPT, GPT-4, right? And then there's this incredible takeoff. We saw so much progress, and right now it does seem like it's flattening out a little bit. And it would be curious to see, like you said, what is the next S curve? What is the next wave? It's kind of hard to see what that is. I mean, there's a number of papers about different architectures being proposed
Yeah.
and models that are able to like recalibrate their weights in real time according to the task that they need. That seems like it's promising, but very expensive too. Um, there's a lot of like reinforcement learning breakthroughs that could be big, but Yeah, I don't know. Let me ask you this. So, if you think AI progress, let's say it's stopped right now in terms of we weren't able to squeeze any more performance out of the models themselves, and it was all about how we apply them, like the harness that we built around them, like all of that. Like, how much could we squeeze out of just what we have right now?
I think there's still a good amount to go. And I think there's a big hole right now for local models.
Mhm.
For example, I've actually been tempted myself to try and build very lightweight harnesses that are geared specifically to like lower context, lower parameter models locally. I think that there's a big opportunity there. Um, but again, I do think we're going to see the big companies. Let's take like Replit and Lovable and trying to think of some of the other Bolt, those types. I'm betting they're going to start feeling, if they're not already, they're going to start feeling some diminishing returns where they're going to have a
Mhm.
harder and harder time like getting stuff better than what it is at the level they were before. And I think it's just going to be very minor, very incremental. But when it comes to coding, I think there's a lot like real hands-on keyboard stuff. I think there's a lot of improvement that can happen there. You know, we could build probably for the next couple of years and like get that super solid new tooling. There, I mean, the whole paradigm with function calling and there's like code-based indexing, semantic search, all that stuff is I still would say it's in its infancy for how you even navigate a code base. There's a lot of like controversy about how that happened. I think that can get significantly better. So I think there's a bunch.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm always like thinking about is they're trying to get these coders to do or these AI to get good enough at code to where it can like run machine learning experiments and all that stuff. And that's the one thing where I'm very curious how far we're going to be able to get, how quickly. Because I mean, if it's able to accelerate machine learning research, we've seen some papers recently out of China that's saying like it's the AIs themselves are able to do some research in terms of testing out different structures of like the different architecture of neural nets. So it's almost like self improvement. I mean, that seems like it would be huge. It would
Very
unlock kind of
big.
like the algorithmic improvements and stuff like that. I'm also very curious about what Google DeepMind has behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Because with
Hmm.
AlphaVol and all that stuff, that's a year or two ago, like a year plus ago. So it'd be interesting to see what's the latest stuff that they're going to be doing. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say like the other interesting thing uh, is context, like the context window as a whole. There, and it's
Mhm.
still a big factor for a lot of people. But tooling has gotten so good now that we're able to code pretty well with the 200K context that comes with Sonnet 4. And the fact that GPT-5 has 400K,
Mhm.
I mean, we can't negate that. I think that is, if we have a model that performs close to that, but we have more context to work with, that may deem itself to be good over time. I will say, like, I've tested Gemini 2.5 Pro up into the like 900K like filled context. It kind of becomes useless, at that level, especially if you're working in a code base. So there is like improvement that could happen there. So I do think, context, the cost of this stuff can come down a little bit more. I think there's a ton of room for innovation. I don't know where it's going to go next, though. To your point, is it going to be kind of these like real time, like self correcting, like training LLMs, and then how does it actually get that reinforcement fed back into it? But on the other hand, I'm actually very fascinated with the mixture of experts model or
Mhm.
the architecture because that allows these things to run so fast, even locally. I would love to see additional versions of that happen. Like Kimi K2, amazing model. I don't have you had a chance to test that much?
Uh, yeah, a little bit. That and Quen. I mean, they were definitely very solid that I've noticed. I mean, I feel like the latest whatever releases that are proprietary are better, but man, I was very impressed in
Oh
how
yeah,
they closed the gap so much.
totally. But Kimi K2 is a 1 trillion parameter model, and it's so hard to run that it's just slow as like, and most of the providers are very slow. And then you get some of the ones that are hosting it and they have it on Open Router, but they've got it quantized down. So you get worse results, even though it's faster. So
Mhm.
then when people review a model, they're looking at it like, oh, this model's bad, but it's actually a good model. Someone's compressed it down and
Mhm.
it has a compounding effect when you're running in these long running agent loops, which is how I imagine the majority of coders are actually working. So there's quantization techniques that I think can happen, because if we could get things quantized down lower with less loss in these long running agent loops,
Oh,
you can
interesting.
end up in some really powerful things that run for very cheap.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because yeah, if you're quantizing them, you're losing a lot of the effects. If there's some more lossless way of quantizing them, we can get. I mean, that seems like potentially another not big breakthrough, but definitely add a lot of
Incremental.
oomph to it,
Yeah.
incremental improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's nothing obviously huge on the horizon. It seems like right,
Yeah.
like there's no next big scaling laws. I thought reinforcement learning would be like there was this you know what I mean, we had large language models, we had the old stuff from AlphaGo, all the reinforcement learning approaches, AlphaZero, all that stuff. So I thought that it seemed like maybe people start working on it, and that's the next wave where we're going to be able to have like these RL gyms for large language models where they just keep getting better, playing against themselves, getting better. Maybe we've yet to see that. That's going to be the next big improvement. um
That would be so cool to see that kind of
yeah,
technology come out. It
yeah,
could be.
but it could be, but yeah, if it's just a matter of building bigger models, throwing more compute at it, it seems like it's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah. And it's one of the tricky things with all of these models is knowledge cutoff. So
Mhm.
I don't know if Lovable's still doing this, but I used to go to Lovable and just kind of look at the quality of code, and a lot of the libraries they would use would be deprecated. And the reason for that, it's not Lovable's fault per se. It's like the models out of date by a year or whatever. So if we could figure out a way to get more up to date information into the model, like I think there are, even if we hit the scaling laws on like the model, I think there's ways we can improve what we have now until we figure out what that next S curve is. So I'm still excited about that stuff, because I would love for things like that to start going away. Like, quit making up so much stuff about my code base that doesn't exist. Quit
Mhm.
duplicating code. That those types of things hopefully can get better over time.
Yeah, with GPT-5, the one thing that I liked is like just building a game of many new features added. Usually in the past, I would run into an issue where it's like, oh, I'm just going to rewrite everything and something would break and it would just throw everything out the window. Here it seemed like it really stayed on track, and everything that was added didn't, no matter how many different functionalities I added, it didn't break anything. At least in that one test that I did today. I mean,
That's
it's only been
awesome.
out, what, yeah, 24 hours, so we'll see how it goes. But so far so good.
When
Um,
when you were
mhm.
building that, did it do a good job naturally breaking up into multiple files, or was it piling it like together in one file? Did you pay attention to that?
No, so it broke it up into like four. Well, no, it had like a README file and then four files. I think it just did. Yeah. So out of the gates, and then in Cursor, I don't know if it kept breaking it up into more files or not. I should let me see if no, yeah, it kept just the same structure. What do you think about that? Is it better? I mean, it seems like it would be much better for it to break it up in more incrementally, right? Do you tell it to do that, or how do you get around that?
So engineering on a day-to-day basis, like I build that model in my head for how I want the layout to be, and I tell the model to do that. This is the problem that my daughter runs into all the time. It's like she will build a game that starts out really good, and then the files start getting so big,
Yep.
AI can't manage it so good. And then I'll go and I'll help her break things out and try to get it in different files so it's at least workable again. I actually was talking to some folks in Discord today. I do think there's a way that we could actually build custom modes that actually force some of that paradigm into the AI to make it do that, which I think would be better for people like her that's just like vibe coding, for fun.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it approaches it like one of the things I was trying trying to get it to do is still working on it. I'm trying to get a simple Flappy Bird game with some more whatever tricks and stuff to it, but trying to do some sort of an RL pipeline to teach it to play it better. And the idea would be to just test different reinforcement learning approaches, right? To see which one can teach this Flappy Bird to fly better. And yeah, from the get-go it broke it up into like a lot of different
That's awesome.
files. And yeah, it seems like it's got the eval agent, the different training features, the game itself, pixels, index, all of that stuff. And it's got the requirements that txt file. So I'm like, okay, it started out by thinking through the entire thing and breaking it up. So I feel like I'm seeing more of that with GPT-5 than I did previously. But I mean, Claude is the one, Claude Opus is probably like the one to beat right now. Whether that's like 4.1 seems like it's a big leap forward. So is it pretty good at that naturally, or you still feel like it needs more work with that?
I think Claude does a great job. So in particular with Claude Code, because I do know
Hmm.
the hardest matters, I think it does a great job at already picking up my structure. Like it puts my components in the right folders. It understands the layout of my code really well. It still does all the stuff that AI does though. Like it will duplicate code or it'll make a
Hmm.
function that already exists, and you just have to baby it on some of that
Hmm.
stuff. But in general, I'll say it is pretty good at breaking things up correctly. But if you let it go, like Gemini 2.5 Pro was actually not as good at that. And I would go and I'd like, rough out a feature or whatever, and I'd go and it would just put it all in one file. So it had like 1,000 lines of code in one file. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, let's undo that. Here's how I want you to break it up. And then it would do a decent job at it. So it just really depends on, I think, the harness around it.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than the model in this case, because I think with Rue Code, which is what she's using at this moment, I'm pretty sure I could build a mode in there that just made it say, "Hey, I want you to keep files small, break them up where it makes sense, whatever, whatever." And I bet you it would do just fine, and I could give it
Hmm.
that instruction.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Rue Code sounds like you said is one of the best ones for people just trying to get into it, even kids that want to learn about it.
Yeah, I will say what I love about Rue Code. I'm a tinkerer. Rue Code has a good like default. You can get in, don't have to configure anything. It'll work really well. But I have
Yeah.
that thing very tinkered on mine with many, many different modes, many, many different like AI models that I test in there. I think it's like a really good balance between easy to use, but also if you want to go deep into things and build your own custom agents and that type of thing, it's really great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we both have a hard out coming up and around like 20 minutes. We both have. I got to do stuff. You have. We have a hard out for people. So throw any comments you want in chat that you would be interested in getting answered. So it sounds like, just to wrap up on GPT-5, it sounds like, I mean, what I'm seeing is it's number one, it's a good model, it's solid, but it's not a huge leap above the competition. You know what I mean? And in fact, it sounds like the Claude and Anthropic stuff is in general better. I'm wondering, you played around with Grock, obviously. What did you think of that for
Uh,
coding specifically?
I'm not a big fan of Grock for coding, unfortunately. I did really like Grok 3 thinking for planning or whatnot back when it first came out. O3 has actually was that for me, but now that's gone, at least in the web UI. Because I do use like a mix of that when I'm just kind of brainstorming or trying to get ideas for things. I got to see if ChatGPT 5 replaces that, but I've never really taken Grok seriously for coding. It doesn't score well on evals. It doesn't do a good job of tool calling. Can't really use it well, and it's kind of expensive to be honest. Well, Grok 4 right now in particular,
Hmm.
but that's where I'm at with that. But if you're using it in the web, that's a different experience than what I'm testing. I'm very much testing like what you were doing in Cursor. So people might love it in the web UI.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, they, as far as I understand, they took not the best base model. It's basically Grok 3, and they threw tons of reinforcement learning compute at it. And there seemed to be some magic that happened there. But I'd be curious to see what happens if they build like the next generation models, through that much against RL compute at it. Like where would that take us? Because I mean, still sitting at the number one spot on ARC AGI 2. GPT-5 is nowhere near that. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, it was kind of, I guess, surprising a little bit. But so
I would say just to add on to that a little bit. So Grok did say I mean, they said this when it came out, a couple weeks they're going to have a like a coder tuned one.
That's right.
I'm very excited about that because that might actually change my entire opinion on it. Because I don't think Grock 4 itself is built for like my use case. So I am excited about the coder version of that.
You know what? I completely forgot about that because they did say, "Oh, we'll see in a couple of weeks," and I guess maybe it has been a couple of weeks or longer. I don't know. It's
Could be any day. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like it's been more than a couple weeks now, but
it,
time kind of flies in this space right now.
yeah, exactly. I feel also like Elon time is different from
That is
everybody else's
also
time
very
is a little
true.
bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait for Grok for coding version or whatever they're going to call it. It's going to be very interesting. Um, so some people are asking, what's the best model for scientific papers? Like if you're doing physics, mathematics, simulation, stuff like that. Any take on that?
I don't really do a lot of that. I do machine learning work, and I would say O3 was awesome at that for me.
Mm,
Like really, really awesome at that for me. I do not know if GPT-5 is going to replace that or not. So I have to do some experimentation with it. I'm very sad that's gone from the web UI, but I'll just use it via the API for now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's because they had all of the. I wish they just kept the model picker, and I understand if they needed to hide it a little bit, but just have it somewhere so people can use it if we really, really needed to. Because right now I feel like it's so hard to kick it into the high reasoning mode because you can do it easily in Playground, OpenAI Playground. You can do it in Cursor and all those places, but you have no idea where. I mean, because GPT-5 isn't a model really. It's more like a
It's like a gateway or
a
router.
gateway. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's unfortunate. Okay, well, let's do this. So first and foremost, I just wanted to thank you for being here. Your daughter's writing subscribe to Gosu Coder, which is true.
Did she really? That's awesome. I didn't even see her do that.
You just saw like a little writing on there behind you. It was great.
That's awesome.
Vibe marketing. So yeah, love it. Yeah, check out Gosu Coder. He's doing a lot of so those benchmarks. That's your own sort of benchmark that you've created. What is that called? What are you calling it?
I actually have no name for it. I do post them on my website, gosuevals.com. I need to get the latest ones up there. But I purposely built them because I felt like a lot of the benchmarks, a new model would come out. It's like, oh, this is the best coding model ever.
Mm-hmm.
You would go use it, and then you just go back to Claude, at the time Claude 3.5 or whatever. So what I started to realize when I started digging into them, and sort of what I started with is all of them are testing different things than what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So I built my own harnesses around that. Me and a couple other people, like Eric from Repo Prompt, we've actually got ambitions to build an open source harness that people can actually run these longer running agent loops on. It'll be a little bit more manual than a lot of the automatic ones, but we want to open source some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, like we're going to keep some of them private because I do, and you'll see it in my email if I were to show you, I get asked by a lot of people like, hey, do you mind letting me have those tests so we could, because I think a lot of people want to optimize around benchmarks and I worry about that. So I've kept them very private purposely for that reason.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, that at any time that a benchmark it becomes the thing to strive for, that everybody's trying to game those benchmarks, whether it's benchmarks or, I mean, yeah, mainly if it becomes a benchmark that people pay attention to, then it's going to try to get, people are going to try to optimize for it. But yeah, so when you're talking about specific things that you test for, I mean, it's like you mentioned, I think you had that chart, right? So you have like, is it calling the right tools? What are the other big things that you're looking for?
So you could kind of think about it. If I give it directions to do something, does it do exactly what I said? And I'll walk you through the process how I do it. So I start by either taking an existing code base and adding a feature to it, or I do something 0 to 1. And I build that to the best quality that I can possibly build it to. And then I write unit tests around it such that they pass 100% of the time. And those are not given to the model to run. They do not know about those unit tests. And then what I do is I build a prompt that basically dictates that it needs to recreate exactly what I created. The class names, the files that need to be created. I don't give it the logic of what needs to go in each function, but I tell it these are the functions that are required to actually be made here. So it really is measuring, like if I give it a spec, can it create it? Can it write its own test for it? And can it get to 100%? And that's what it's testing there.
That's really good, and I can see how that's a lot more useful than just some benchmark. Uh, okay, perfect. So yeah, I just want to be mindful of your time, and we got like 12 minutes here. So everybody, please check out Gosu Coder, and hopefully, in the future, you're welcome to come back. We'll probably do more stuff. I'm just looking if
Love
there's
it,
any
man.
more big questions or anything like that. And yeah, you know what? Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. We kind of did this in the last moment. It was so great that you were able to jump on. So good luck to you in everything. And yeah, let's talk. Let's talk later, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Wes, for reaching out, man. Have a great weekend.
thank you, and we'll leave the links down in the show notes. All right, we'll talk to you
Appreciate
soon.
it.
Bye.
See ya.
Take care. See ya. All right, everybody. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope everything was okay. I know we've had a bunch of issues with the audio. For some reason, Riverside just flipped me into the camera mode, but I do have to sign off as well. I'm putting together another video, almost done with it actually, about GPT-5. I think that based on a lot of like what people have talked about online, it does seem like number one, a lot of people aren't using it in the high reasoning mode, so they're getting poor results. Number two, I think a lot of people are giving it tests that I don't know if they're that valid. Like we talked about with Gosu Coder, you know, asking it to do some calculations, it doesn't matter if it's good or not at that, because it's not at a point where it can create its own code to get those calculations done 100% correctly. It can do some Python code or whatever. It can code up a calculator. So trying to see if it's able to, count the number of strawberries or whatever. I count the number of R's in strawberry, or some addition, subtraction, division, whatever. I don't know how good of a test that is. Do we need, like, do you need to be able to add or multiply numbers fast in the modern world if you have a calculator? Not really. If you're applying for a job, they're probably not going to have you, you're not going to be practicing the multiplication table, just because we're a little bit beyond that. We were asking higher level stuff. I mean, if you have a math question, can it code something that answers that question? If yes, does it really need to do it in its head and its reasoning steps? I don't think so. Anyway, so I just wanted to do a quick stream today. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. You guys are amazing. We'll do more of these, and until next time, thank you so much, and talk soon. Take care. Bye.